everybody. My name is Jack Evans. This is Jaxson Henderson, and over there is Jeremy Graunke. And our team was helped supported by Dr. Ahmed Abrami, as well as doctoral student Saman Ebrahimi Basabi. And we worked on developing gold nanostars for photothermal tumor therapy. I believe our motivation is quite clear, as out of childhood cancers, brain tumors account for 25% of them, making it the second most common right after leukemia. Many of these brain tumors are actually very deep within the brain, reducing the survival rate of them just down to 25%. We were also excited to have the opportunity to deal with new nanomedicines as well as non-invasive, innovative cancer treatment. Our main objective was to create unique nanostars with controllable absorption rates. Using a near-infrared laser that has the ability to pass through both bone and tissue, we use this to excite the nanoparticles that are placed within the tumor and then heat them. Using a photothermal effect, we can heat the gold nanoparticles up and therefore burning off the cancer cells. This is similar to if you were to use two tuning forks at the same frequency, and you play one, the other one will vibrate at the same frequency. Finally, our design criteria were that the gold nanostars had to be inert and biocompatible within the person. So to deal with that, we went to our material selection and picked gold, which is found to be overall just inert. And then we went to our PVP coating, which is this lighter area outside from one of our previous SEM photos. But that is to create a controlled surface chemistry to reduce agglomeration as well as to create a uniform distribution in size. Finally, our goal is to optimize the absorption characteristics and get them to the same range as our NIR laser to use our photothermal effect.
All right, so going into our experimental plan a little bit, we'll start off our project by synthesizing these nanostars. Once we've done that, we'll start characterizing their shape, size, and composition by using scanning electron microscopy, SEM, as well as X-ray diffraction, XRD. Once we've identified that we have particles and they're roughly the morphology we want, then we'll go into testing their absorption using UV-Vis. And then once we've gone through those 3 steps, we'll kind of reiterate them, adjusting the PVP molecular weight and concentration to get optimal morphology, agglomeration, and absorption characteristics. And then once that's all done, we'll begin testing thermal imaging to see it actually heating up inside of a substrate. So to go into detail on our experimental method, here's our synthesis schematic, which shows our 2 precursors. We've got a gold chloride salt along with our PVP solution, which is in PVP and DI water. And then you add in your H2O2, stir it for 30 seconds, which will start the particle growth. And then you go through a titration-like process with the NaOH until you reach a pH of 11 to stabilize the nanoparticles. So once that's done, you'll place them in the centrifuge, collect the nanoparticles, and redisperse them in DI water for a colloidal suspension. So the important thing about this experimental method is that it's synthesized in water. A lot of methods we found in our literature review are synthesized in dimethylformamide, DMF, which is toxic to the body. It requires no seed crystals, making it a simpler procedure, and it creates uniform particle size distribution, which is important so that they all absorb the same NIR wavelength. And one of the big factors in this synthesis procedure is that it allows for tunable local surface plasmon resonance, which is that photothermal effect that Jack was talking about, which allows these particles to vibrate and heat up, killing the targeted cancer cells. So here we have all of our samples that we created. We have 3 different PVP molecular weights. We've got 40,000, 10,000, and 360,000 that we tested. And then we tried them all at different concentrations. On the right, you can see some of the XRD data we got, which shows that we actually created our nanoparticles and they have the right crystallographic planes and growth in them. And then from this XRD data, you can also see that the PVP40 at a lower concentration had the best nanostar yield.
So once we had determined that with our XRD that we were actually creating gold nanostars, we moved on to doing our scanning electron microscopy to see the imaging, because we wanted to see what type of morphology we had at this point. So starting off with our PVP-10, we got about 80 nanometer radius of the particles, but we weren't really seeing what we wanted because we didn't have any branching effects. We had more nanospheres rather than nanostars. And we also had a very thick PVP coating, which was another concern of ours because that reduces the amount of absorbance they can have inside the body. So then we moved on to our PVP-40, where we started to get some better data, and you can see really clearly in the 7 millimole PVP-40 branches starting to form, and you can also see them in the 3 millimole, they're just not as clear in the imaging. Our nanoparticles got also bigger with the PVP-40, which also allowed for a higher absorbance rate, and we had the better spike growth as well. So once we had decided that PVP-40 was the route we wanted to go and the concentration that we wanted to stick with, we decided that we needed to test the absorbance of them using the UV vis to see what was actually going to absorb that near infrared light. And you can see the red line is our 3 millimole PVP-40, which is still below our target range of 760. So we continued to decrease the PVP-40 concentration to 0.5 and 1 millimole. And as we did this, we had a major right shift to where we were actually now absorbing light in that 760 range. So our particles were able to actually absorb that near infrared light. And that'll be our blue and green lines there will be our 0.5 millimole concentration. Another great thing is when we looked at our SEM of our smaller concentration particles, we actually started to see our branches forming very clearly, and we were getting longer branches. The reason that's important, the peaks of these branches are actually going to give us the absorbance of the 760 and above, while the base of these peaks are what keeps it at a lower absorbance rate of about 600, 540 to 600. So throughout this project, we did accomplish a lot. We had a creation of a non-invasive cancer treatment method. We were able to, that would be allowed to kill brain tumors without damaging any of the healthy brain tissue. We were able to create our polymer-coated gold nanostars. We were able to identify the controlling parameters, and we were able to tune gold nanostars to absorb a near-infrared light. The reason why this is going to be so impactful is because 75% of children with brain cancer pass away after 5 years. And we believe with a photothermal therapy, we can increase the survival time and rate of these patients. In the future, we need to continue to increase our peak absorbance wavelength and also do thermal image testing. And then Dr. Arami's lab will take it from there, doing animal testing in the future. And lastly, we'd just like to thank all the judges for taking time to listen to our project. Dr. Arami, Saman for helping us every single day, Dr. Adams, and Dr. Kraus.
Questions for the team? How are these deployed? How do they find the tumors deep in the brain?
So it's going to be a burrow hole method, so they'll actually be injected directly into the brain tumors. And then Dr. Rami's lab has developed a near infrared light distribution that actually sits on the outside of the brain because it can pass through the skull and the brain tissue. So the actual plant device is planted on the outside, so you can live every day-to-day life without being affected by it.
And do they just chill in them when you're done, or are they allowed to remain?
Yeah, because they're inert and non-toxic in the body, so they can just sit there, and it's like a daily dose of the light.
That's why you don't use DMF.
Yeah, there you go.
Any other questions? All right, well then we'll move on to our next group. Thank you.